So this section, we are going to look at Stata as a software for data analysis. And I'm going to take you through how the Stata interface looks like. And we are going to I'm going to show you the various windows that you can find on the Stata interface. So Stata is one of the powerful statistical packages that is mostly used for data analysis, data management, and data visualization and then reporting. So this software is mostly used in public health, biostatistics, and epidemiology. And you can also find people who does economics use this software, and then those who are into social sciences. Today, I'm going to introduce you to this software, which is called Stata. So as you can see, I'm using Stata 17. If you can follow the mouse, this is Stata 17 SE, which allows for larger data sets. So let's start to look at the various components or the various aspects or windows of Stata. I'll start by showing you the part of Stata that directs you to the current working directory that you are working with. So when you look at the bottom here, over here, if you can follow my mouse, you look at the bottom here, you see that we have the directory. Okay, that is the current working directory of Stata. That's the current working directory over here. So it means that Stata is looking at this particular directory for your file. Okay, Stata is looking at this particular folder where your raw data is, where it's going to save your results, where it's going to save your log files, where it's going to even save your visualizations. And this can be changed. As we go along, I will show you how to change the working directory in Stata. So from here, I would want to show you these particular property windows over here. And this actually shows you the data property. The data property, you can see it from here. This particular windows shows you the data property. Okay, I will upload data and then I will try to explain to you further what I'm talking about. So this is the data property windows. So this will give you the name of the variable that you click on over here, the label that is associated with it, the type and the format in which that particular data or that particular variable is. So this is the data property window. Now, when you look at where the mouse is here, you can see that this is divided into two. We have the name and then we have the labels. The name actually describes the variable names. Okay, each data has a variable, or each data has variables inside. Each data set has variables inside. And these variables are the short descriptions of the actual labels. Okay, so over here, we may have a variable like age, but the actual label will have to describe that particular variable. For example, age of the respondents. Okay, so the label actually describes the variable, and the variable is the short version or the short name for the actual label. So you find the variable names here, and then the labels that describe that particular variable, you also find them here. Now, the bigger space that you find here, we call it the result windows. Every result or every result that you have will be displayed over here, this particular window. Now, when you look at this particular one on the left-hand side, we call this one the history windows because this populates all the codes that you have written. All the codes that you have written will be populated here. So you can reuse any of the codes that you may have written earlier. You can find it here and then reuse them. And finally, here we have what we call the command window. So this is where you're going to type all your commands. You can expand it as big as you want. So all your commands will be typed here. Okay. So for you to understand what I'm talking about very well, I would want to just load some data that comes with some example data sets that comes with Stata. So I'm going to upload one of them and explain to you what I'm talking about. So we have a data set which is called census data. Okay, it's in Stata format .dta. So if you want to use this particular data set, you just click on use. Okay. Need I remind you that this data set comes with Stata. Okay, example data set. So you click on use, you realize that after clicking on use, you have the data imported into Stata. So this is what I'm talking about. You see, we have state, okay, as a variable name, and the label is also called state. When you look at state2, the label associated with this particular variable name, which is called state2, is actually two-letter state abbreviation. All right. And region is the variable name. And then what explains that variable name is what? Census region. Okay. And when you look at it down here, we have marriage. That is a short version of the label, okay, which actually means number of marriages. And the last variable name is divorce, which is number of divorces, okay. So variables are short versions of the actual label or the actual text, okay. And when you do analysis, you mostly be using, all the time, you're going to be using the variables rather than the labels. So we call the variables. Okay, that's what I mean. Now let me explain to you the property window. Here, you realize that once you click on the variable, you see that the variable property comes. You have the name. What is the name? The name is the divorce. Here is pointing to this particular variable name. Now, what is the label associated to that particular variable name? That's number of divorces, the data type, long, and then the format. So all the properties that are associated with this particular variable is what you see here. All right. And what is the size? That is 2.83 kilobytes. Okay. And the memory is 64 megabytes. So large and by, this is what I want you to know about the interface, data interface. We have the windows, we have the file, we have edit, we have view, data, graphics, statistics, which contains all the statistical analytics methods that you may want to use. We have user, windows, and help. So we are going to look at all these when we start the actual tutorial. So this is just the very first tutorial, which is supposed to expose you to Stata interface.